playing for the Africa Freaks.
And wearing a Team Liquid X-Men shirt. It is in the bottom left-hand side of the map. The Prophecy, Liquid Clem. Which X-Men would he be?
Ooh. Okay, who's like, is there one that's like very fast?
Wolverine maybe is pretty fast. Yeah.
Yeah. There's not one who's like, I don't know if Clem is quite like, I feel like Big Gabe is more of a Wolverine, you know? Like he just like smashes through everything, regenerates as he goes.
I don't know. Regenerates?
Yeah, like okay. Yeah, you stab him or shoot him or anything, he just gets back up and keeps going. Whereas like Clem's so fast, he never gets hit, you know? So
Quicksilver, that's it. Smix just whispering us magic right there. Quicksilver is Clem. Yeah, that's perfect.
And a Macarex to start out, by the way, for Clem. That's kind of a funny one where it's like just off to the side and Stats is looking everywhere for proxies. So it's going to finally come in and that Marine's going to be waiting for him on the high ground. Will he be able to get that probe snipe? Probe really wants to see that command center.
Yeah, and Stats is going to drop his second pylon near his natural base. But okay, the Marine will spot the probe and the probe will therefore spot the Marine, which means Stats will know not to over-defend against something like Proxy Reapers or any ultra mind-gaming shenanigans. Yet still, Clem manages to get his CC nice and early, as does Stats, respectively, with his Nexus. So.
Well, this is interesting. The Tech Lab concussive Marauder follow-up. I love this. I think Clem might actually be bringing back a 3-Rex here. We'll see what he does in the next few seconds. Second barracks goes down. Oh, yes. One of my favorite
Talk to me about
builds.
this, Piggy.
Clem has been loving 3-Racks in this matchup as one of his builds he mixes into a series since like 2017. Many years he's been doing this. And the way he likes to do it, it's actually, will be the factory. Okay, cool. A bit of a different variant. This is more of like a 2-1-1. But what's cool is he will pressure with Marauders, hopefully catch a gateway in order to force some shield batteries, try and scare Stats. But, Stats is so quick. He should be able to just let that Shade finish if he needs and recall out of there.
The other Marauders already split to deal with it, but yeah, there will be the quick recall from Stats. Still, a recall not something that he was probably looking to use or do. We also noticed that Clem very nicely positioned factory, as you expect from players at this level, to not get spotted by the Shade leaning up against the wall there. So, yeah, very nice. Now, these two Marauders, you said Clem is looking for somewhat of an overreaction. Do you think he's got it? Is a battery enough here?
Well, I think he's forced the recall. It's been spotted on his side of the map. He knows he has to go home. So as Clem here, you know, okay, I just hope he builds the shield battery. That's it. Stats respected it. He built the shield battery. He's not going to cancel it. He doesn't need to. It's not a massive investment. It's just respect on both sides. Clem moves across the map, says, okay, make sure you've respected this. Make sure I'm threatening you a little bit and then just go home. What's really nice for Stats is that Oracle, I think, matches up quite well against this build order because you don't have anything like a Cyclone or a Viking. You're very low on Marines right now. The Oracle could even just fight if it's just like 3 or 4 Marines and take down a few of them. But it could also very easily just start picking off SCVs, building buildings, you know, slow down the depot or the starport. And Phoenix follow-up for Stats going to be quite nice for controlling the skies.
All right, here's the first poke of the Oracle. All the Marines already bunched up at the natural. There's a mine somewhere in the main, Pig. Will it find the Oracle?
Well, it looks like it is on the left-hand side of that mineral line, and the Oracle goes a bit too deep. Wow, very nice. That's such an uncommon place to hide it. Normally you're looking above the gases, above the satellite dish, or tucked right into one of the pockets. That one there is almost hiding in plain sight. I really like the way Clem did that. A creative position to put that Widow Mine. And I was talking about there not being enough Marines. I didn't even see it. So
yeah,
well
no,
I
heard it burrow. It was like, and I was like, oh my God, where is it? And I couldn't find it. I almost issued a challenge to Angel to see if he could find it because it's so difficult to see under those SCVs. And of course, it's a difficult position because it could also drag friendly fire onto your SCVs. So Clem clearly, you know, doing his research and knowing what he knows. And that's great to catch the Oracle to start off. So this is a good start for him. Did it catch it? Did you see it?
Just barely missed it. Just barely missed it. It's going to see a Marauder rallying. That's going to tell Stats, whoa. And the problem is he's already got a pylon, a Nexus, and a battery. He's got next to no units, though. He can't defend that third base. He's trying to go Colossus. He's got an Immortal. He's going to try to bring some units over. Clem happy to pick off a few of those Zealots and take the kill on the third base. Now, Stats, of course, wants to punish him on the way home if he can, but there's no way. This is a lot of bio. This was, remember, oh, no cancel on the next. The Stats, way too greedy.
Yeah, extremely greedy here. Uncharacteristic mistake. These Phoenixes are not gonna have much of a say here. However, pushing up a ramp and into force field's potential battery is always a difficult thing to do. Clem looking to angle to a way where maybe he can sneak into the main, but the Phoenix are keeping up with that potential move.
No third command center out just yet, but the third barracks lands on a second reactor. So it's going to be a big focus on Marines and tanks for Clem. All firepower. It's that glass cannon sort of army. You know, it's all about damage output, a bit fragile. Now, on the front, Clem's staying way too long in my... Well, not way too long, but way too long to stand and fight. I like the snipe on the probe and the run home, because there are Phoenix. They're very effective for shutting down these drops. And with the Colossus out, it's almost got extended thermal lance. I mean, Clem, he's creating threat. But every now and then, with a player who's this aggressive, they do get caught being a bit too cavalier on the opposite side of the map. Now, the Phoenix are looking around. They need to spot this follow-up because Clem, he is just going to keep pushing. He's going to fight with both two tanks and combat shields.
Yeah, that's a huge pickup for Stats as he finds one of these tanks, and that is one of the anchors that Clem is going to need for his push. That said, however, the rest of his army has just joined the first wave, and this is still a very powerful army. Only one Colossus, I believe, out for Stats right now. Very good vision with that observer.
Wow.
A great fan out from Clem, confidently moving on forward. A little bit of a greedy siege there, and now Stats is going to collapse onto the whole army of Clem, and this is going to be more than enough to clear it out.
As great as that arc was, you see the power of Colossus versus Marines without the stage tank, you know, there, and the other tank getting picked up. This is not good for Clem. And I said overextending may be something which catches him off guard because he was in a really nice economic position, but now suddenly the counter push looks so scary. Yeah, there's no prism with it, but that's still a frightening army. He's got to keep that tank alive. The scary thing is you want to focus down the Phoenix. If you clump up to focus the Phoenix, those Colossus can land big swipes. So you've got this real nail-biting engagements. Keep your eyes on if the Colossus land their attacks in the middle of a clump of Marines, devastating. But at the same time, if those tanks are able to gun down the Colossus, that's going to be powerful. If the Marines can focus down the Phoenix, that will be very effective. And either way, Stats has bought himself enough room. He's got good map vision. His Phoenix is going to go harass the main. He's adding Forges behind this Twilight Council. He's going up to that next stage.
Not very many Zealots here to push on through either from Stats, but finding very good damage with this Phoenix already. 11 SCVs have gone down. The Phoenix will be chased back, and yeah, I completely agree with everything that you're saying. Oh, this could be a great catch from Clem, but Stats too good. Paying attention right away will turn right around and pick up possibly a couple of SCVs on the way out. Okay, maybe for attack, but no. Oh, now the push is coming in big.
Yeah, this is just Stats realizing you can't have half your Marines up in the main base, not without getting punished. I got 3 Colossus here, mate. The Phoenix is smashing the medevac count back to the Stone Age. And looks like Stats here off the back of that successful defense of that secondary push just gets himself in a fantastic position. Clem here trying to do a little bit too much with how he was attacking that third base. Stats, of course, has double upgrades, charge, Templar Archive, 7 more gateways, going up to 10 gate. And I'll tell you what, a Warp Prism, a couple rounds of Zealots and Archons, I think Stats could just push through him. I don't even know if he needs to, though. He's adding a Dark Shrine, defense, insurance on all sides. He's still got the Phoenix for air control. Meanwhile, Clem is sitting there on 4-5 barracks production. He's just starting his Ghost Academy. This game is all but over. Stats has a massive lead.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Clem, and I mean, it all comes down to that push. I was ready to give Clem props because, yeah, as much as he stayed at the start a little bit outside of Stats' base, and yeah, we're going to see a tank picked off here. This is more of the snowball that we're seeing occur. He kind of held outside with a mine, and Clem is always so good at positioning his units, especially his siege units, his tanks, his mines, in ways that they are very surprising, that they create chokes and make it difficult for his opponents to move. But this time around, I mean, he pushes with a 2-tank push. One gets picked off on the way there. The second one, too greedy of a push. The fan was great, but the tank got picked up without ever doing anything. And I think if he had sieged it a little bit further back, we might have seen at least a better trade from Clem. So a little bit greedy on that, and it's been all Stats ever since.
Indeed. Really is an art form setting up those pushes against Phoenix play, because it's you've got to win that fight. If you don't, the Phoenix punish you very hard for it. A nice little pick off there for Clem, who's Managed to build quite a big army. He's going for a push, though, and that means this push is heavily committed. 2 tanks, 8 Vikings, 30 Marines, 13 Marauders, and a couple of Ghosts. If he can land big EMPs on the Archons, he could maybe do it, but remember, those shield batteries are there. I like the fact that he's sieging very far back. He has to be conservative with this sieger.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised that's actually going past the choke and onto Clem. The SCVs are arriving as well. I think this is one of the best situations for Clem, though he is behind in every regard and falling further behind in supply. He is gonna have to GG, and Stats is gonna take game number 1 with
more committed or defensive. You know, really go hard on the attack or pull home. It's hard when you're a Terran player like Maru or Clem, whose whole success in this matchup is based on constantly being in the Protoss player's face, even when you don't really have any business doing it, and creating interaction where you can just pick away at units, you can scare them into not starting their upgrades or building workers nonstop. The problem is, with a player who, you know, jumps on top and shuts you down, that can get kind of dicey. And Clem comes in with a scout, sees a Nexus. Oh, look, this looks totally normal. He doesn't check for the second pylon. That's the problem with this late SCV scout. And looks like it's going to be a proxy Stargate, Cats.
All right, I was thinking maybe it could be a Robo as well, but I wouldn't mind a Stargate, and that's exactly what it's going to be. I wonder why not make a Stargate on the other side then, just to have extra protection, right? Like, because it's so much further away, whereas the distance for the air unit is exactly the same. So I thought if it's a Stargate, why isn't it on the other side of the box?
That's an interesting point, actually. Maybe they tend to scout on the other side a little bit more, and it's just kind of, you know, hedging that percentage of the proxy location. It's like, no, 20% they check the other side. They never check their own side or something like that. The Reaper is going to jump towards the main base, Adept there guarding, and Stats just shutting down the scouting. Very important. There is no alarm bells ringing for Clem, and he's actually gone 2 Marines before Reactor. Oh, that's kind of rough, because that means his next Marines are a little slowed down. He's building Hellions right now. The Starport, that Oracle being chrono boosted, is going to run into a base. There's only going to be 4 Marines out, and high likelihood they're all in the natural expand.
Oh, that is a very dangerous position for Clem to be in. And even if there's you know, just 2 and 2, that might even be worse in a certain sense, right? Because the 2 Marines will just die right away. So, yeah, this Oracle poised to do a lot of damage. Let's see how fast and how well Clem is able to react. The mine might have a say, though. It's going to be a tiny bit too late, it looks like. Oh! Unlucky mine.
Seeing that Widow Mine, I think, gives you a bit of comfort as Stats. Oh, no, he's still worried about there being a second Widow Mine with the way he's microing that. You can tell he doesn't want to go too deep. We'll find 1 SCV, 2 SCVs there. So not too devastating just yet, but finds an angle on the gas. Quick pullback from Clem. Still loses 1 more, though. Oracle being very annoying.
Yeah, beautiful.
3 kills. It's a good start. Now, interestingly, it's a Phoenix follow-up, Cat. So I guess he's just going to go into that control play from here. I'm with you about that Stargate placement, right? I'm worried he loses that before he gets all the air units he wants out. But maybe if he's just going for 4 or 5 Phoenix, maybe he's comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of the Phoenix production here after seeing the Widow Mines. I mean, there is a medevac and Widow Mines, and you know Clem is Clem. He's gonna wanna get in your face and do some damage on the other side of the map in some way, shape, or form. The only way, shape, or form that he has is a medevac and Widow Mines. And so Stats even fanning out his Phoenix on the lower end of the map earlier, as well as the Oracle, just to check and see that nothing is coming his way. Now he thinks maybe Clem slipped by, so he's actually repositioning much closer to his own base, but Clem has not left his yet.
Hellion and the Reaper will get caught. You're going to try to get out of there. Reaper may escape. Interestingly, 2nd and 3rd barracks before 3rd command center for Clem. So, I mean, this to me usually looks like you're committing very hard to a push. Against a Stargate opening like this, where you took a little bit of damage, you know it's almost always a quick 3rd behind the Stargate, because the Stargate player has so much vision. So the way Clem's playing, I mean, to me, I look at this and I think you kind of have to go for some big push on the 3rd. You can't just let them that up. And against Colossus play, we saw how good Stats defense is. It's going to be really interesting. Right now, this looks like a fake pressure more than anything. If Clem commits hard to this one, I will be very surprised.
All right. I mean, the Phoenix are going to spot him, but yeah, he did spot like 3 or 4 Phoenix, right? Would it really be the worst thing to try and commit here?
I think it would be a disaster, honestly. The Phoenix production is there. You've got an Immortal, a Shield Battery, a bunch of Adepts. You just don't have many Marines. They don't have Stim or +1. I like pushing deep. If you don't turn around now, though, you're in big danger of just getting picked up and taken out. So it's not a bad way to posture, scare your opponent, threaten them a bit. He finally spots the Stargate, so we can take that one out on the way home. Phoenix, though, looking for some pickups. They're going to jump in on that medevac, and Viking.
Boost away does the medevac, but leaves the Viking behind, and it will end up falling. And I love everything that you've just now said, Piggy. But okay, Clem is finally gonna get something going in his favor. He's gonna take this Stargate down. What does he need to do then? Does he need to push out with? Does he need to just like do a big base push and try to make something happen? The Phoenixes are not gonna be super great at fighting head on, right?
I kind of hope for Clem's sake that he actually just pulls the boys and maybe goes for a big all-in. The problem is there'll probably be a second Colossus out by that time and extended Thermal Lance. If he could have found a moment to hit with Stim when there's only one Colossus, maybe. He does have a good tank count. He'll have 4 siege tanks. He's showed a 3rd command center, but economically, Clem is so far behind that if he just plays the slow game, I think Stats will swamp him in the later game. I don't know if he can keep up. The Phoenix is seeing everything, as are the Oracles. Charge is on the way. The gateway count is exploding. Stats is getting ready to stop this push. He knows that's a late 3rd command center. He sees the move out. With no SCVs pulled or anything like that, it feels like Clem here is playing a little bit more middle of the road. And I think with the great opening Stats has had, I don't know if that's going to cut it. I think if Clem goes across this map, it's going to be all or nothing with this push. Maybe he could just back off and not overcommit. But look at that, 2 Colossus charge finishing in about 30 seconds. This is a dicey situation. It's one big scary push for Clem.
Yeah, Stats sharking around looking for some of those tanks, but Clem this time around kind of being a lot better at scoring things. A big amount of Protoss is going to be scanned there on that top ledge, and now Clem forced to siege. That slows down his push. He wants to go up this ramp. It's a dangerous location. He might have to stim to get it. And the tanks now sieged on the low ground are going to give him some positioning, but is it going to be enough? Is he just pulling back? I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is...
Yeah, he actually stims home, interestingly enough. You know, I actually think I prefer this choice, honestly, because Clem didn't look like he was confident going for the committed attack. And now he has to just play this ultra defensive couple of minutes in this game and try to drag it to the late game. I think Clem is potentially good enough to do that. But it's honestly, I'm just impressed that he had the presence to pull home. The fact that he had this presence of mind to say, you know what, there's no way I'm breaking him. Now he needs to set up in a really good position. Now against this sort of army, though, you need tanks on the high ground, I feel. You'll need to really protect them from the Zealots coming in, as well as the Phoenix from picking them up. And right now, those Phoenix still being very annoying stats, though. Doesn't really want to force the issue. He drops a second Forge, a second Robo, Blink, Dark Shrine. No matter what, Clem, he better be comfortable playing against Mass Disruptor and packs of 20 Dark Templar with Blink running in and jumping on his planetaries, because Stats is getting himself to that late game. There is no way to stop that.
All right. It seems like it's been such a difficult game from Clem from the start. Was it all the effects of the first Oracle then snowballing? Did that do a little bit too much damage? Because it feels like, you know, we've been talking about how Clem might have moved out with a 2-base push. He kind of attempted at that, but then Stats already had way too much, right? At what point have we seen any weakness in Stats that Clem could have exploited?
Yeah, I don't really think there is. And the fact that he went 3 barracks into 3 command center, it's a bit kind of cookie cutter TVP, where it's like, if you do that, often you'll see Terrans who play on the extreme edge. It's always straight 3rd command center versus Stargate, or if you're going to go 3 racks, well, you're going to go all in. You're going to pull the boys, maybe even get a quick 4th and 5th barracks, right? Clem's kind of playing middle of the road, and it's because he's such a strong player that he often can get away with doing this. But now, because of that, he's kind of had to pull home. He's had to give a lot of room to Stats. Stats is going to have 2-1. He's going to have a few Disruptors on the field. He's got a good Colossus Arc on Zealot count. Clem's got a big army. Could he win this next fight? Yes, but he's got to be very careful. There's 20 charge lots on the map. He's only got 1 Ghost in this army, a second one rallying in. Zealots are running in on both of his bases right now, causing a whole bunch of havoc.
Yeah, a little bit too much havoc because Clem is maxed out. He can't really remake any additional units. He's making just a couple of Marines that are, or Marauders that are going to trickle in. Now the siege is on and Clem is going to be pushing on forward as Stats tries to repel them down his ramp. Clem already losing a lot of supply even just to get situated in this position, especially to DTs now joining the Zealots on the counter offense for Stats, and now he's gonna move on to an unsieged Clem, and that's gonna be it. Stats is gonna take game number 2 quite decisively.
Recently in Europe as well as in the season finals. So this matchup is a little bit different. It is a little bit more tactical and strategic in terms of playing against this Protoss player specifically. You are not by default going 3 command center, big 4 base versus 4 base, 5 base versus 5 base, 100 worker war of many small engagements where it's about stretching your opponent out. The early game, the first 5, 6, 7 minutes, we're seeing here that Stats is grabbing control and getting a little bit too far ahead. I'm quite pleased to see that Clem is changing things up and trying to stay unpredictable. He goes for a reactor first this time around.
Yeah, very cool. And I love what you were pointing out, because the Phoenix is the perfect tool in order to do just that, to slow down the pace, to say I'm not going to get out multitasked. You know, it's going to be very difficult to get drops past me and to create chaos, as I'm sure Stats knows is one of Clem's strengths, right? Like if Clem starts poking at you, he'll poke at you until you're completely out of air and just die. So it's gonna be a difficult road to find that damage. We'll see if Stats continues to do things like Phoenix to stay as defensive as we know he can be.
I think it's a really good way to play. Actually, I've just had a flashback to one of the EPT weeklies I was casting like maybe 2-3 months ago, and Clem was already getting so frightening at that point. I think it was Goblin who took him out in that one. I said, dude, like this was a great strategy. He played this awesome Phoenix play. And he said, you know, I think sometimes Clem like just forgets how to play against Phoenix because he wants to attack in, and the Phoenix force you to stay back so much more. And that's definitely something which Stats has been utilizing in this series. But finally in game 3, we do see a change up with the Twilight Council. But it's actually 4 Adepts coming out. Wow. Now this really makes it look like you're playing Stargate. But I wonder, are we going to see the return of something wild like Glaives?
No, we just might. There's no bunker on the low ground at the moment for Clem, who is making a very fast, what do you call those things? The Cyclone. And those are going to be great against things like Oracles, but not so much against Adepts necessarily, right?
Yeah, you can turn it into a little bit of a makeshift push, I guess. Rally them across as like fast mobile units. But you can tell Clem is like, okay, cool, you're going to play Stargate and Stats. I mean, he's just so far ahead of the curve here in terms of thinking about how the strategy is going to go in this matchup. He's just going for a different style. It's, okay, I'm going to do a cute little Adept pressure. 3 Adepts going to come across this map and going to go Blink 4-gate rowboat behind it. It's going to be sort of surprise blink maneuver. And these Adepts, this really sells the story of Stargate. Like Clem is just, every time you see these Adept shading, you're like, oh, this is definitely going to be an Oracle. I've just got to sit in my mineral lines, guard my base, lock everything down, and I should be good. Little does he know, it's a completely different style to what he expects.
Yeah, and it's once again, Stats kind of trying to grab the reins of this game and make Clem play at his pace, right? It's going to be him applying the pressure first, potentially. However, Clem with tanks, if he can have them in good positions, this could still be very good for him defensively, but it looks like he has other plans, Pig, as he's moving up.
Well, you know, Vikings aren't bad versus Stalkers, so they can actually land or even take out the Prism in flying mode. If he can get a good siege up location with a bunker or 2, amazing army versus Stalkers. The problem is getting there. There's 4-gate production up. The Observer sees this coming. Those Stalkers need to get out there and start picking off units. The Adepts on the high ground as well. There is 1 shield battery on the natural, but only 1 pylon powering those 2 gateways. And the starting fight is very important. How this one goes is going to decide a lot.
All right, here's the first siege of one of those tanks down the ramp. The Vikings, as you were talking about, are already landed here to output additional DPS. The Stalkers are not great at fighting head-on. The shield battery overcharge will go down right away as Stats is looking for some trades. Only 1 tank in range at the moment, so that's all the firepower that Clem is going to be using to siege. Will this be enough?
Recharged fully on the shields. Now, shield battery overcharge is finally gone. That's the scariest part in many ways of this engage. A lot of Stalkers come forward. A crazy blink forward, taking out these siege tanks. He's going to lose a ton of Stalkers to it, but at the same time, he takes out all the long-range units for Clem. Is that enough? Clem's going to push straight forward. He says, no way you can get away with that. I'm going to punish you hard. Battery overcharge is another 20 seconds away. It's not going to be ready during this fight. The Stalkers and probes trying to hang on, but Clem, with a fiercely committed push, finally is going to find a weak spot in Stats armor.
Yeah, 19 probes have gone down. Clem doesn't really need to do additional damage. There was no SCV pool or anything like that. There is going to be additional Stalkers for stats, but it looks like they're mostly just going to get cleaned out. I think Clem can just pull back. Now there's an extra tank, so I suppose he can continue to siege this wall off, and it's looking all too good for the Prophecy. It looks like the Frenchman will at least take one game in his favor here.
Yeah, this is it. This is what I really wanted to see from Clem is I don't think you can play that middle of the road style against someone as good as Stats. I think Clem now finally says, okay, fine, I'll go for a super hard committed push. He finds big success with it. And I think this is what he needs to do a little bit more. He needs to be hard swapping between these aggressive plays, the super economic plays, and keeping his opponent guessing. Stats was not expecting this one at all.
Yeah, it looks like Clem really flipping on the script here. Stats says, hey, let's play at my pace. Clem says no. Now, he has not traded too effectively over the last few engagements here, Clem, that is. But I think that's still pretty fine if he can just go back. I feel like he's rallying a few too many units already to kind of just feeding them into Stats at this point. Stats getting an Immortal out, and he is going to resume pro production, so he wants to continue to take this to the longer game. It's going to be a tough and tall order for him to follow through. But yeah, Clem needs to chill a little bit for now.
Absolutely, got to agree with you there, Cats. Definitely overextending a little, but this is where Clem finds a lot of his advantages, and that's what he needs to at times resist the urge. I think when he leans in, he needs to lean in hard, and when he chooses to disengage, he's got to quickly pull back and not let himself get punished. Nonetheless, a massive lead, 16 workers. He's going up to 5 barracks, an amazing position. Clem is of course gearing up for a 2-base push. Bio, Stim, +1. When he gets all of that, he's going to go hard, and there's no way Stats can do it. Stats is going to try to bust in here a little bit. I don't know. He's going to try and find an opening.
Okay, actually, there's not much buffer, and the tank will get taken down. There is a lot of Stalkers still remaining, and more weapons coming in for Stats if he wins this game. Big, I don't know. Okay, the Immortal falls. That is good. The War Prism, however, barely staying alive through all of this, and now with the tanks on the high ground, wow. That got really scary, but it seems like Clem is more or less stabilizing, not before taking 10 SCVs worth of damage.
Yeah, these siege tanks actually blocked the ramp for a little bit. Now the Stalkers come forward, and oh my god, they're going to take out both tanks. That is huge. That was the anchor to the defense, but Stim Shields +1 is about to kick in, and even without it, their Prism goes down. Clem just has so many units there. That early advantage. Ooh, probes down there to shut it down, and once again, I mean, Stats has looked fantastic. The Marine will kill the probe, but not before it sees. Okay, I got to watch out for Reactor Hellions. You know, that's a quick factory, a quick barracks up. This is a scenario we've seen far too many Protoss players fall to. I feel like we've even seen players like defend the Hellions okay, and then still just end up behind because they've committed so much to the defense. I wonder if Stats is going to go for the Phoenix once more, or is he just going to try and get up a bunch of gateway units? The Stargate does go down. Looks like it will be that Phoenix.
All right, that's already scary for Clem. He has been struggling against that. And you know, I want to just point out to that to that little bit that happened in the early game as well, because it's all tying together. It's all interwoven into Stats' plan. He has been scouting around his base. You touched on this in the previous game, and it's that scouting probe that comes back, you know, at the perfect time to spot the SCV that tells the other probes in the main to be pulled. So if that scouting probe wasn't scouting around his own base and you know, like scouting for that SCV effectively as well, then he doesn't get to react as quickly.
You know what's amazing here? Clem is pivoting really hard. He's actually going for a quick second barracks instead of the starport. There's no Hellion drop here. It's 2 Hellions, which he knows have been spotted. So there's 2 shield batteries, 1 in each middle line, a wall off on the front of the base, and Phoenix. Stats has no follow-up scouting, and Clem is taking advantage of it, getting really quick stim, tons of Marines out, just 1 Widowmine to start things off. Now, I've got my eyes on Clem to see where do we go from here? Do we see, bam, non-stop units, 3rd barracks, go, 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 and try to commit to a gigantic 2-base attack? Does he just drop a 3rd command center here while looking to, say, deny maybe a fast 3rd from Stats with a Marine push? Either way, we're 100% going to see basically 16, 20 Marines going across with Stim, couple medevacs, and there's going to be a dangerous moment where Stats, of course, investing in Adept Phoenix, his Colossi are going to be very delayed in this game.
Yes, indeed. And I want to do issue a quick test to Enjal. Can you find the Widowmine, Enjal?
Ooh, let's see. How good is our observer?
Oh, super good. All
I love
there
that
it is.
you're on board with butchering our observer's name with me, by the way, Cats. You know, it's kind of monstrous, but good to see someone else with terrible Australian pronunciation.
Yeah. But yeah, that Widowmine, I mean, it's in a location where it was spotted last time, but it did, you know, kill the Oracle, so not as big a surprise this time around, potentially. The Phoenix are already being made in the back here. As stats big, what do you feel like this is already information given? It's most likely that your opponent expects Phoenix, or has he withheld onto that information well enough?
Well, I think the way Clem's playing is really good against it, where it feels like he knows this is going to be the response. So definitely, I think Clem getting a good read on his opponent and stepping up his game here. Now, he did miss a bit of starport production. I kind of wish he had a medevac already out. There was about 25 seconds where it wasn't building. To me, I mean, the fact that there is still, you know, just kind of a progression in a very steady path for Clem, it feels like, ooh, he does definitely want to move across this map, but how much does he commit to it? He's going to move out now, I believe, and start posturing. The Robo Bay is not quite finished. Colossus production has not started. There's no good anti-stim Marines units on the map. What is it? A few Adepts, a few Phoenix, and a Sentry. An Immortal's going to pop. None of these units are good versus Mass Marine.
Yes, indeed, exactly that, right? Like the Phoenixes are gonna really struggle to gain value, you know, on defense against this number of Marines. The Colossus nowhere near done yet, so that's not even started. And in fact, there's not enough time for stats, so he just starts a second Immortal. That Robo Bay is a completely wasted investment for the time being, and as far as this attack is concerned. A bunker will go down, the other SCV got picked off. The tank's not sieged, however.
This is crazy. That Immortal lands 2 hits before they even get a shot off. A lot of these units getting focused down on both sides, but the Marine count, I don't know if it's high enough. The Guardian Shield Adepts actually do a crazy amount of damage. He gets 2 Phoenix, loses his entire push. That shuts it down. I mean, that was expertly done. The way the Phoenix went behind that push, completely cut off the reinforce, and then came back just in time. Once again, Clem gets jumped on just before his tanks are ready. He keeps thinking he can siege up really deep, and Stats is like somehow always able to jump on him just before he's there. Suddenly we see a 2 Command Center versus 3 Nexus player. He's trying to go up to 5 barracks is Clem, but he doesn't even really have add-ons. He's rallying forwards. He feels the pressure. He knows he's behind. He knows he can't give too much room to Stats, but I'm actually worried he's way overcommitting to these attacks.
Oh yeah, now with the Colossus out, I mean, that's gonna be compounded because the Colossus is gonna wreck through these Marines, and mine will come here to help. And with the second tank joining, I mean, you would love to have kept those tanks earlier, but yeah, Clem a little bit too greedy with the sieges, it feels like. And now he's gonna be pinned back for the time being. He feels like he has to commit to this. More of a stream of blue coming from the French player's base. Will it be enough, Pig? I'm not feeling too good.
There's always a chance. If you can get those tanks all sieged in a ball, blasting the Colossi, and then your Marines can focus down the Phoenix quickly enough. But as we've mentioned many times, it's so hard to do that without getting all the Marines just roasted by the Colossi. Now, there's no Twilight yet, or at least no upgrades on it. So the Zealots, the Adepts aren't that great. The Guardian Shield has been wonderful so far, but as the tank count grows, they should be taking out those sentries very quickly. And here we go. We've got that big Marine ball behind the siege tanks. 3 siege tanks there, a whole bunch of Marines, a single Widow Mine. 1 gateway is going to go down. Those Phoenix, though, so many Phoenix. When he dives forward, I feel like Stats is going to be able to pick up every siege tank. I don't think the Marines will be able to focus them down quickly enough. Let's see if Clem can handle this. He's got a handful of SCVs. He's trying to build turrets, which is a great call. I really do think he needs anything he can use to deal with those Phoenix.
I love that. Leapfrogging 1 tank forward. He's sitting on a comfortable choke as well, so if there was Zealots or Adepts leading forward, they would not have an easy time. This is not too bad of a start for Clem, but the Colossus still standing, and one of the tanks actually shoots onto that Colossus, and it will fall. This is looking good for Clem now.
That is an amazing hold there. Remember, he took out the Observer as well with those turrets. He's got bunkers building. Those 2 siege tanks are still so vital. Now there are 5 Phoenix. They're going to find a tank on the reinforced. Stats, you absolute god. How does he keep grabbing these important units? Oh, it's just the 2 tanks on the front. Now there's still more than a match for that Colossus right now. And Marines go into that 3rd base. Is that an overextension? Will Stats be able to punish it? Stats is going to try to come forward, but they're mostly slow Zealots.
Yeah, and the Marines can reposition very easily because they didn't really overcommit this time around. He's gonna take down the Cybercore as well. That's gonna be a great deal of help for Clem, who looks to be making this push work out. Don't. Relax a little bit. He still has the tanks that he needs to make use of. He has that very nice position with the bunkers. I like this I like this decision a lot better, just kind of forking and going into the exposed and open third base.
Dude, Clem on the cusp of defeat in this semi-final has just gritted his teeth down. He said, no, I am just going to clamp down. I'm going to make this push work. And he's executing it to perfection. Look at that, the Liberator on the front. Oh, talk about a problem those Colossus don't have an answer for. A bit of a crazy push with the Marines. He gets one. I don't think he can get the second one. Oh my God, he gets both.
A little bit of crazy engagements in this game. Some of those blink.
Liquid, none other than Clem.
And in the top right-hand side, as things have progressed in this particular season, Pig, is he the foreign hope now? Difficult to say. It's stats!
He's starting to bop his head. I think he just put on his motivational track, dude. I think Eye of the Tiger just came on in stats here, because first 30 seconds of this match, he was bobbing his head, kind of rocking out. You can tell he's trying to motivate himself. But now you can see he's slowing down just a little bit. He's still bobbing a little bit in his chair. You can tell definitely the adrenaline is running high. He wants to make sure he does not give up any edges here as everything comes down to this final match. And I can't wait. Part of me kind of hopes Stats wins the whole tournament. I want to ask him if he forgot charge in that last game, or if he just thought, well, this push is hitting so fast, there's no reason to start charge. But it was such a slow push that I think it was one of those scenarios where if you actually take your time and just pick off the reinforcements with the Phoenix, make charge, you can hold it. Stats was expecting him to commit in a lot quicker and harder, I think. And an unfortunate decision for the Protoss player there. Always frustrating when the Terran just kind of sits outside your base with the slowest of all slow pushes, and you're kind of going, no, please attack in now. I'm not preparing for a minute or two. I want you to fight into me now. I'm ready, but could not break the bunkers and the turrets there. So a frustrating loss for Stats.
Yeah, great adaptations for Clem, though, who has already faltered to that kind of opening heavy on Adepts, right, instead of Zealots. Exactly because of the reason that you're pointing out. I think the Adepts are really strong for that first wave if there's like a small commitment, and we saw Stats jump onto little armies of Clem and completely dismantle them. But this time around, it was a chunkier force. And like you said, I mean, he didn't really have a strong transition as the army of Clem evolved with bunkers and turrets. So let's see what this game has in store. It seems like both players kind of responding as far as punches are concerned.
Indeed. It's going to be early adapts here coming out. I expect the Stargate play for Control once again for Stats. And no, he actually does go for the Twilight Council. Okay, same sort of opening from, of course, that Lightshade game, I believe it was. Could be getting the map remembering, sorry, not Lightshade, the previous one. The map where he got taken out by that tank push, Romanticide. But that was one where if he saw that push coming a bit earlier, as Blinkstalker's got on the map, it absolutely could have worked. And he's going to probably be trying to play that exact same sort of mind game where he says, well, you're not going to know what tech I'm going, but if I pressure you with 3 Adepts, it really does feel like Stargate. And then here, so far, setting up the
Robo next. Yeah, maybe it's kind of a little bit of a mind game, right? Because he maybe didn't feel like he got to execute that time around, because Clem that time around came with a very fast push. And next time, Clem comes with a later push instead. So both players kind of mixing it up. And this is kind of a championship. Oh, one SCV will get picked off. The mule will be safeguarded for now. But this is kind of the championship level move that's his doing. His strategy didn't work.
He gets in the main. He sees the DT shrine. Oh, what a hero. One crazy Terran driving a car with a flamethrower on top of it spawns literally the most important tech in the game, and he sees this is a DT drop opening. Now, how does Stats pivot from here? Does he still go for it and just turn it into the Archon straight away and play kind of conservatively? Do we see a Raven out for Clem? This is going to be so curious to see. Right now, Clem is building a Medevac and a Cyclone. He might actually try and just push through the DT, save some scans. It's a very mobile unit that he's going for. Let's keep our eyes on, Clem's going to push out.
That's interesting. I would never have the guts to do this. I mean, it is such a risky maneuver. It seems like the Adepts are going to shade on forward, but a little bit of a misclick from Stats is going to cost them 2 Adepts, maybe 3 altogether. No, one will shade on forward and onto the mineral line, but that was definitely a misclick.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to pull up from his natural is Clem for now. His SCVs can take out that Adept. Unfortunately, his mules weren't mining for a moment, but he does put them back. He realizes that Prism on the right got intercepted by the Viking and had to pull back. Right now, a DT does warp in on the defense. The Cyclone just dives right in, takes out a Stalker, and runs a loop around the mineral line. The probes do arrest him. This is a crazy push from Clem. DTs are here, though, and look at that. He just scans. One DT goes down, another DT goes down just before the batteries. Oh my god, he's actually taking out the shield batteries.
This is just bonkers. The shield battery overcharge goes down, but that's just energy wasted. The Immortal will make it out, but it's looking like Clem has just enough to at least continue to apply some pressure. He's gonna take some probes with him before retreating, and this is the composure that you want to see from the Frenchman, and he has taken the aggression to the Dark Templar player and succeeded, as far as I'm concerned.
What a madman. That was beautifully done. There's nothing that shoots up. 2 Stalkers only now warping in. At home, there's a handful of Marines and 2 siege tanks. There's 2 turrets up. None fully covers the natural just yet. So Clem is still a little bit light in terms of like the maneuverability of his defense, but the fact that he's pressuring so hard with this Marine drop makes it really hard for Stats to secure a third base. I really feel he's got to find some damage with the DTs, but it's going to be very hard to find it.
Yeah, already turrets everywhere in the perimeter of vision of Clem. So these DTs are going to find a couple of SCVs, but nothing more for the time being. Very, very well done. Cannot stress enough from the Frenchman. That DT trying to do what it can, but look at that turret. I mean, he really has every inch covered.
And he even intercepts the Prism there. Oh, Clem. This is just such ballsy play. I'm so impressed by the fact that he pushed into that. This was such a surprising way to just grab the game and really, really get the momentum kind of going in your favor. Now, keep in mind, it's not over yet by any means. There's still, of course, that Immortal 2 Stalker drop. We've got an Archon and a DT in the middle of the map. A very creative pressure here from Stats while he seeks to secure his third base behind it. Meanwhile, Clem is still just on 2 barracks. His third barracks is on the way. His starport doesn't have an add-on yet. Stats here being nice and annoying. Finds a weak spot in the back.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's so weak though. The Stalker already down to red health. Those tanks are well positioned, and now with the Marines coming, Stats is going to have to abandon the location. The Raven also threatening to disable the Warp Prism before loading up, so Stats is going to have to run back, as Clem still with this very annoying medevac of SEAL Team 6 units that he has had from the beginning.
I think he's gearing up for a tank push as Clem. No sign of going for a third command center just yet. Finds a nice little counter drop here. Just a bit of disruption on that base, and that medevac continuing to go around. He knows there's nothing like blink out. There's only a handful of Stalkers. And with that limited anti-air, it's very much about Stats has to be on top of the medevac and follow it around these bases. So Stats counter pressuring. Double Archon drop on the other side is going to come into that main base. Ooh, a nice little drop there. Very good for picking off SCVs.
Gotta be careful though with the Warp Prism, as there are turrets in range. The Archon's finding some space to maneuver, and they're gonna siege a couple of these supply depots. The Marines they do not have a stim yet, but +1 and stim is about to finish. Do you feel, Pig, like Clem has an opening to where he's looking to move out with this timing?
Yeah, I think he's got to go now. He's got 5 siege tanks, and as good as the army of Stats is, he's got a Colossus out. He's about to have a second. He's got a few Archons. Right now, charge is still 80 seconds away. That might barely finish in time, but not before the tanks are sieged. And 5 siege tanks are going to make mincemeat out of 2 Colossi. So as long as Clem can get the siege up, and remember, that's been a dangerous situation. He's dropping right now to distract. At the same time, Archons see his push. This is a wild situation right now. Those tanks cannot afford to get ambushed. Remember, that has been the downfall of Clem in this series. Can he get his tanks up?
He needs to siege them. Maybe it wouldn't be bad to siege them on the high ground, or here in the middle ground at least, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. The battery is not yet up, but the overcharge is here to buy time for the rest of them to come online. A little bit of a clump from Clem, but disabling one of the Colossus might just be enough. Pushes on through one of those Archons. More Warpins being added here on the side of Stats.
We've got more siege tanks coming across the map. There's 3 tanks here on the front. 1 more rallying, a lot of bio. This is essentially an all-in attack. It needs to at least break this third base or trade out exceptionally well for Clem. He's up against a 60 probe Stats, who's now got charge about to kick in. Charge is getting close. He's warping in tons of zealots. He's going to try and add some Archon Stats. Stats can't fight it until charge is finished. And these siege tanks still looking very frightening. I love the way he's positioning those tanks just behind the bunker. Here we go. Stats is going for it.
All right, but all the Zealots go into a tiny, narrow choke, and things are looking okay for Clem to start. The Colossus trying to output as much damage as they can, but the tanks are holding strong in the back. No more battery overcharge to be spoken of, but the next warping of Zealots is going to force Clem to reconsider his stance.
I don't know if he can actually do it now. Yeah, I feel like the bio count's a little bit low. There's only 11 Marines left on the map. Only 9 of them here for Clem. Oh, this is a scary angle. Stats with a huge arc of the Colossi and the battery overcharge. And look at that beautiful engagement from Stats. He cleans up the siege tanks. That's the most important part. All three Colossi still standing. Stats here, the shield of Aya standing strong and absorbing Clem's blows.
More than that, he's pushing on through. It looks like the shield of fire is absolutely doing it. 30 supply ahead and GG is called.